Hey there, besties. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're continuing our recap of the manhwa, The Cellist. If you're new to this series, check the description below for links to previous episodes. Lastly, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the video. It really helps our channel grow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. Were you booking a flight ticket just now? Hayeon asked. Yes, Ji Sehun replied. What? Why would you do that without even asking me? No, now is not the time to go on a trip, she exclaimed. You brought a suitcase, right? Ji Sehun asked. Why are you trying to hide your injury so badly? Hayeon said. It'll just complicate things if they find out. It'll affect you too, he tells her. You just hurt your hand. Now is not the time to go out. You need to rest, Hayeon insisted. I can rest there, Ji Sehun said, firm in his decision. Pack your things, and we'll stop by your place to grab your passport, he tells her. Huh? Okay, Hayeon stuttered, unable to protest further. Wait, don't do anything. Just go stand over there, she said, blocking him from packing. I'll take care of this. Just tell me what to do, she added, grabbing his suitcase. Okay, then first, my underwear, Ji Sehun said. Right. Your underwear. We need to pack your underwear, she said, rushing to his room with the suitcase. After they finished packing Ji Sehun's clothes, he drove her to her apartment. It's already 4 p.m. Stay here. I'll be back with my things, Hayeon said as they reached the garage. I'll go with you, Ji Sehun replied. At her apartment, Hayeon entered her passcode. What's your passcode? I told you mine, Ji Sehun said. That's because I'm staying at your house, she replied curtly. Hayeon entered her passcode discreetly and opened the door, her face slightly red. She stepped into her room calmly, while Ji Sehun observed the space. This is it? He asked, sounding unimpressed. Huh? Yeah. Go sit on the bed and wait, she instructed. It's small because I live alone. It won't take long. Do you want something to drink? She asked, but he declined. This whole place smells like you, Ji Sehun remarked as he sat on her bed. Well, it's my house, Hayeon said, focusing on her packing. Not bad, he said, rubbing his hand on the bed. Do you have other guys over? He asked calmly. Why would you ask that? Hayeon replied, turning red as she looked at him. You're the first, she said, quickly turning away. Let's keep it that way, he said with a faint smile. After packing her things, the couple arrived at the airport. They sat in the waiting room, preparing for their flight. Do you want me to get you something to eat? Hayeon asked politely. No, you should eat. You cried a lot and used a lot of energy, he said, flipping through a magazine on the table. Isn't my sweat dirty to you? Hayeon asked. No, Ji Sehun replied. Not even my tears? She asked, looking sad. Ji Sehun watched her calmly. He placed his hands on the table, stood up, and kissed her on the head. Looks like you're about to cry again. Let's go, he said, leading the way. Hayeon watched him and noticed his bandaged hand. She rushed to him, holding his hand. I'll hold this hand. You injured it, you need to be careful, she said. I'm fine, he protested. Still, I don't want to get in the way of your healing. I'll keep an eye on it and hold this hand instead, she said. You say all the right things, Ji Sehun told her. Why did you choose this country out of all others? Hayeon asked him. I'm sick of Europe, he replied as they checked their passports. Ji Sehun appeared to have traveled more than Hayeon. You're really busy, aren't you? Do you usually stay a long time when you go? She asked. Yes, he tells her. He said he was going to Germany next time, she thought. Ask another question, Ji Sehun said. Huh? Hayeon replied, unsure of what to ask while still holding his hand. Anything about me, Ji Sehun encouraged. Oh, I do have something I'm curious about. How many languages do you speak? She asked. French, German, and English. A bit of Japanese too, he answered. You even speak Japanese? You're like a walking translator. She exclaimed. And you? He asked. I speak Chinese and English. I learned both to add to my resume, but it's really hard not to forget them. I understand why everyone studies abroad, she said calmly. And why don't you go? Ji Sehun asked. Hayeon didn't reply, her face looked sad. I will once I get a job. I haven't been on a trip in a while, she said as they got closer to the check-in counter. Ji Sehun held her hand warmly. I'm taking you now, he told her. Even though this is an unplanned vacation, we won't be doing any tourist stuff. The point of this trip is to get enough rest to heal. Understand? Hayeon told Ji Sehun as they boarded the plane. I hope you're able to recover and get back on track as soon as possible. I'm sure a bit of rest will get you back in great condition in no time, she added. Does it seem difficult? He asked, turning to her. I'm just worried, that's all. I know how good you are. I heard you play before, Hayeon said. There won't be an issue as long as you keep your full attention on me, he assured her. So? She asked. Deep down, Hayeon was a bit nervous. She hadn't spent a full day out with someone before, not even her boyfriend. That's why I'm taking this flight with you, she said. They boarded the plane and entered the first-class cabin. Hayeon wondered how Ji Sehun had managed to book the flight so quickly. She didn't realize they were in first class until she took out her bag to put it in the overhead compartment. Ah! Ji Sehun exclaimed, rushing to stop her. This startled Hayeon. Do you want me to get that for you? A flight attendant offered with a smile. Ah yes. Thank you, Hayeon replied with a smile. Ji Sehun gently slid his hand from her head. There are people here to do that. You don't have to, he said. You shouldn't do it either. If you get injured because of me one more time, I won't be able to sleep, Hayeon said, a bit angrily. Won't be able to sleep? Ji Sehun wondered. That's not too bad, he said softly. Is there anything else I can get you? The flight attendant asked Hayeon after she was seated. No, we're good. Thank you so much. Hayeon replied cheerfully. Ji Sehun glanced at her from his seat. Talk to me that way, he said. What do you mean? She asked, unsure of his meaning. Talk to me with that voice again, he said, staring at her with a serious expression. Hayeon, still looking at him, turned her face forward, wearing a grin. The couple soon arrived at their destination. Outside the airport, Hayeon exclaimed, It's so hot here. Where are we staying? She asked Ji Sehun as she rolled their luggage. A driver stood waiting for them, holding a welcome sign with a smile. Welcome, he said. When did you make all the reservations? Hayeon asked, turning to Ji Sehun. Earlier, he replied. Hayeon was surprised by his ability to handle all these details as they followed the driver, who helped with their luggage. They soon arrived at their resort. Wow, Hayeon exclaimed, taking in the sight of the resort. Ji Sehun placed his hand on her shoulder. It's so nice, she said, holding his hand. At the front desk, a receptionist greeted them warmly. Welcome. Would you like to check in? She asked politely. Yes, here you go, Hayeon said, handing over their passports. The receptionist thanked her. Are you guys on honeymoon? The receptionist asked. Hayeon was about to say no, but Ji Sehun answered yes. What? Hayeon exclaimed, turning to look at him. Play along, Ji Sehun said. Why do I need to do that? She asked. We're only here for a short time. Who cares what we say? He replied. You don't want to? He asked calmly. No, it's not that I don't want to, she said, feeling tense. She thought about how people might find it odd for two people who weren't dating to share a room. Their tour guide then offered them a seat as they waited for their room to be prepared. Let me give you a brief explanation of the resort, he said. Do you have any questions? He asked once they were seated. Do you have a doctor here at the resort? Hayeon inquired. Do you need a doctor? The man asked. Yes, he hurt his hand, she replied. The tour guide informed her that there was a hospital within 20 kilometers of the resort and drew a rough sketch showing the direction. How do we get there? Hayeon asked. If you call the front desk, they'll have a van ready for you, he said. Thank you, Hayeon responded. Ji Sehun placed his hand on her shoulder. Let's go now. I'm tired, he whispered. Is the room ready yet? Hayeon asked the tour guide. It's ready now, he said, leading them to their room. The tour guide led the way to their room. "We're here," he said, unlocking the door. Inside, Hayeon was taken aback by the neatness of the room. "Whoa, this is," she said, her cheeks reddening as she saw the room arranged for a couple's honeymoon. The tour guide pointed to a bottle of champagne. "This is the champagne we give to all newlyweds who are on their honeymoon." Ji Sehun picked up the wine. "Is there anything else I can get you?" the tour guide asked. "Is there a room with 2 beds?" Hayeon asked, looking tense. "There is, but do you want to change rooms?" the man asked, sounding surprised. Ji Sehun, standing behind the tour guide, gave Hayeon a stern look, almost as a warning. No. That's okay. "Thank you, here's your tip," she said, handing the man a tip. "Thank you. I hope you enjoy your stay as well," the man replied before leaving the room. Hayeon turned to Ji Sehun. "You injured your hand. What if I touch it in my sleep? Wouldn't it be better if we slept in separate beds? You're not the type to sleep with other people, right?" she asked. "I want to sleep with you," Ji Sehun said. Hayeon continued, "I have bad sleeping habits. I toss and turn and might hit you in my sleep. I also grind my teeth and sometimes snore if I'm super tired." Ji Sehun walked gently towards her, unaffected by her concerns. "Guess I'll have to find out for myself," he said with a soft smile. "Find out for yourself? I guess I don't have any other excuses. Let me just do what he says." "He's injured after all," Hayeon said inwardly. "You said you were tired, right? Let me clean off the bed," she offers, removing the petals from the bed. "Let's wash up." Ji Sehun heads towards the bathroom. "Okay. You go ahead and shower first," she says. "Together," he replies, turning toward her. "Huh?" She's taken aback, appearing frozen. "You have to help me, remember?" he reminds her. "Oh right. You're right. Next time, could you maybe be clearer about what you need?" "I keep misunderstanding you," Hayeon says, sounding confused. "Misunderstand me all you want. I don't mind. Do whatever you want," he says before entering the bathroom and shutting the door behind him. Hayeon watches the door for a moment, then sighs in relief, holding her head. "I wonder how he felt. Did he like my tears? I guess just sleeping in the same bed isn't such a big deal. I need to be there to take care of him after all," she thinks, before heading to the bathroom. She knocks gently before stepping in. "You're already undressed?" she exclaims, seeing him in just his shorts. "Oh, you should have waited for me. I was going to help you with that," she says, as she prepares the bath. "I guess I'll need to see his bare body to take care of him," she thinks inwardly as she prepared the bathtub for him. "Do you want to lean against the tub? I'll wash your hair first," she asks. Ji Sehun steps out from the shower, stands by the door, and gestures for her to come. Hayeon approaches, and he pulls her inside, locking the door behind her. "What are you doing?" she asks, noticing his intense gaze. "Showering," he replies. They share a brief, silent look. "You should take your clothes off too if you don't want to get wet," Ji Sehun says. "I have extra clothes in case I get wet." "And you don't just tell a woman to get undressed like that," she responds sharply. "Is that so? Do you want me to think of you that way? You're wearing underwear anyway, aren't you?" Ji Sehun asks, sounding puzzled. "You're a man. It's different," Hayeon replies, fuming. "How so?" Ji Sehun inquires. "I have volume in certain places. You don't," she explains, placing her hands on her waist. "Wait. What am I saying? Why am I even bothering to explain this to him?" she thought. "Men have volume too," he says calmly. "Where?" Hayeon asks, fixing her gaze on his waist. "Yeah, you're right. Men and women have something in common." "Ha ha ha. Interesting," she exclaims, turning her face away to hide her flushed cheeks. "Are you not going to get undressed?" Ji Sehun asks. "I'm not." "Now raise your arms up for me," she instructs. "Let's get this over with so I can go," she says, but Ji Sehun interrupts her by turning on the tap and spraying water at her. She gasps in shock, trying to shield herself with her hand. "Now I can see through you. It's more revealing, don't you think?" he observes, watching her wet body. "Are you trying to seduce me?" Ji Sehun asks, touching her hair. Suddenly, she grabs the shower head from his hand and turns it toward him, laughing as he gets soaked. You're all wet now too. Are you trying to seduce me? She mimics his tone. Ji Sehun watches her calmly. Do you like it? He asks with a smirk. Hayeon's face turns red. She looks away, not responding. Wash my body first, will you? He requests. Wait, let me get a loofah, she says, trying to leave the shower, but Ji Sehun stops her by placing his hand against the door. Do it with your hands. I like it better, he tells her. There won't be any bubbles if I use my hands, she points out. Rub my body until there are, he insists. Hayeon calmly takes the shower gel and pours it on her hand. As she approaches his back, her heart races. She gently rubs her hand over his body, thinking, I'll just think of this as me exploring the human body. You're rubbing the same spot repeatedly, Ji Sehun comments, causing her to flinch. No, I don't think that's going to work. I'll just imagine I'm giving an animal a bath, she thinks, closing her eyes as she continues. Hayeon continues to rub her hands against his chest, trying to keep her focus. I'm a zookeeper. A zookeeper, she repeats to herself, attempting to distract herself from what she's doing. You touching me like that is. Ji Sehun starts, drawing her attention. Why? What's wrong? Is it uncomfortable? Did I rub too hard? Should I be more gentle? She asks, her voice filled with concern. Do it harder, he replies, seemingly enjoying her touch as he closes his eyes and savors the moment. Is this better? Hayeon asks, tightening her grip on his arm. Yeah, he confirms. You said you'd do anything for me, right? He asks calmly, receiving a prompt yes from her. With that speed, rub me all over, he instructs, drawing her closer, their eyes locking. Your legs. You want me to rub your legs, right? Hayeon asks. But I can't move if you're holding me like this. Can you move aside? She asked politely. Use your legs, he tells her. Bubbles should form if we rub against each other like this, she says, her body trembling slightly. I don't see any bubbles, Ji Sehun responds. Stop doing that with your legs, Hayeon tells him as he rubs his legs against hers. Should I use my hands then? He asks, making her blush. Wait, what's this? She asks, noticing something in his hair. What? He asks, sounding confused. There's something in your hair. Let me get it out for you, stay still, she says, as he bows his head slightly for a closer look. What about on my body? Do I have anything there? He asks, raising his head to meet her gaze. Why don't you look closer and see if there's more? He says with a smile. You're all set now. It was just dust, she says with a tense smile, her face still blushing. Let's get you cleaned off now. She grabs the shower head and begins washing his body gently. Hey, how old did you say you were? Ji Sehun asks. I'm 26. Why? She replies, focusing on his body. Then why are you so adorable? He says warmly. Lean forward so I can wash your hair, Hayeon instructs, her face red. Then you didn't really get the dust, did you? He asks. Ji Sehun bows his head, allowing her to wash his hair. His hair is so soft, she thought inwardly as she feels his hair. There. All done, she says, turning off the shower. Ji Sehun raised his head and held his hair back. Can you wipe my eyes? He asks, closing one eye. And my lips too, he adds, causing her to flinch. Hayeon gently wipes his lips. Ji Sehun opens his mouth and lightly licks her finger. He holds her hand and sucks on her finger. Hayeon closes her eyes, her face reddening. She moans softly before quickly withdrawing her finger. Your finger is quite long. It was worth tasting. I didn't kiss you, so we're good, right? He says. Humph. He's the one trying to seduce me, Hayeon thought, keeping her composure as she observes him. I'll let you sleep early tonight, Ji Sehun says. Wow, thanks, she replies with a smile. The next morning, they are cuddled together as they sleep. Hayeon wakes up gently. Now he's wrapping his arms around my waist so naturally, she thinks, carefully moving away from him. She hurries through her bath and grabs a bottle of water for Ji Sehun. Sehun, wake up, she says, rubbing his face with the cold water to rouse him. He grabs the water bottle and drinks as he sits up. Let's clean your wound and put on a new bandage, she tells him as he finishes drinking. He extends his hand toward her. Hayeon carefully unwraps his bandage and cleans the wound with the medicine provided by his doctor. Ji Sehun watches her attentively. Good morning, he greets her. Huh? Yeah, she responds. Good morning, Hayeon replies. You don't have to put so much effort into it, Ji Sehun says. How could I not? Hang in there, she tells him, focusing on changing his bandage. All done. Let's wash up and get breakfast, she adds cheerfully. I want to sleep more, Ji Sehun says, lying back down. Oh, you do? I guess it's okay to rest a lot when you're injured, but have some breakfast first, she protests. I don't want to. Lay in bed with me, he says, pulling her close by the waist. I'm not sleepy. Are you sure you're not going to have anything? Hayeon asked him. I'm sure, he tells her. But I'm hungry, she says. Ji Sehun got up quickly. Get dressed, he tells her. The couple soon leaves their room and heads to the restaurant. They find a table set for them on the beach. Sit down, Ji Sehun says politely, holding her chair for her. Hayeon, seated, watches the ocean's waves and enjoys the vacation. You look happy, Ji Sehun says, his face lighting up with a smile. Ah, she exclaimed in surprise. What do you want to eat? I'll get it for you, Hayeon offered, standing up from her seat. I'll have what you're having, Ji Sehun replied, before she hurried off to get their meal. Excuse me. Are you not Ji Sehun? A man said politely, approaching Ji Sehun. Oh wow. Sehun, I'm a huge fan, the man said with a smile, recognizing Ji Sehun. Okay, Ji Sehun responded, looking a bit awkward. I love your music. You really put your heart into the performance. I even bought tickets to your show in New York, the man continued. I'm here on vacation. You should enjoy your time here too, Ji Sehun said. It's a pleasant surprise to meet you. Is it okay if I join you? The man asked politely. Ha, Ji Sehun sighed, closing his eyes in an attempt to dismiss the gentleman. Excuse me. Can I help you? Hayeon asked, placing a plate on the table. I'm a huge fan of Sehun, the man said excitedly. Oh, really? That's great. Thank you so much. Where are you from? Hayeon asked politely. I'm Tom from England, the man introduced himself. Wow, England. Isn't this place wonderful? Hayeon said, her face lighting up. Yes, definitely. It's heaven on earth, Tom agreed. How long have you been here? She asked. A little over a week, Tom said. We just arrived this morning. Sehun needed a break to refresh. Are you here alone, Tom? Hayeon inquired politely. I'm here with my wife and son. We're on vacation too, Tom replied. Across the table, Tom's family watched them, smiling warmly. His son waved at them. It looks like your son is waiting for you to go back. He's been looking this way the whole time. I'm sure Sehun is happy to meet a big fan like you, but I'm glad I could meet you too, Hayeon said with a smile. Yes, I was pretty surprised myself, Tom replied. Still, I think we should both respect the fact that we're here on vacation, right? A short encounter leaves a stronger impression. That's true. Well, I'll be getting back to my family, Tom said. It was very nice to meet you. Enjoy your vacation, Hayeon said, bidding him farewell. You too, oh Sehun, I always look forward to your concerts. I hope you can regain your energy while you're here, Tom added before leaving. Phew, was my pronunciation weird? I haven't spoken English in a long time. Thank goodness he didn't notice your hand. It's best if no one knows. We don't want any drama. If only I were a bit taller. I was worried I wouldn't be able to hide it, Hayeon said nervously to Ji Sehun. Where's the food? He asked. Oh, I was filling a plate when I came over to see what he wanted. I'll go get it. I looked to see if you were doing okay and saw a man standing over you, so I ran straight here, she explained. Why? He asked. Huh? Hayeon exclaimed, unsure of his question. Why did you run straight here? Ji Sehun clarified. Because you don't like people annoying you, she replied. I love how she makes me feel, but she's also a good manager, he thought, observing her quietly. Hayeon watched him silently. I'm going to go get your food, she said. I have a lot of money, Ji Sehun said, halting Hayeon's walk. Huh? She asked, not understanding his words. I'll give you all of it. If I do, will you stay with me? He asked. There was a brief silence. What is he talking about? He must be really hungry. I'd better hurry up and get him some food, she thought, looking tense. Stay here. I'll be back with your food, she told him. Answer me before you go, he demanded. I know you have a lot of money. I'm already accepting more than I should, so stop offering me more. It makes me uncomfortable, she said. I hope he doesn't take it the wrong way, she thought inwardly, watching him silently. I'm learning a lot while I'm with you, she tells him. If I can learn to deal with your personality, I'm sure I can work for any boss, she added with a smile before walking away. That's not what I meant, Ji Sehun said, looking sad. What does he mean? Hayeon thought, flinching at his words. She paused and turned back to him. Then what did you mean by that? She asked. Ji Sehun remained silent, his gaze fixed on the beach sand. I can't answer her. I don't know how to put these emotions into words. If I had my cello, it wouldn't be difficult to express these feelings. Right now, all I can do is find the right words so that Hayeon can understand, he thought. He looked up, still not speaking. You have no flaws. So I want you, he tells her. I want you all to myself, he thought. Hayeon giggled. Did you forget? I'm basically your employee for a month. And I'm already living with you, she said. That's not it, Ji Sehun said to himself, struggling to express his feelings. Here, eat this first. I'll go get more, Hayeon said, placing a plate of food on his table. She walked away gently to get more food. As Ji Sehun shifted his gaze from her, she dashed away and hid behind a tree. What was that? I thought he meant he wanted me to stay by him a bit longer, she exclaimed, pressing her hand against her chest to calm her racing heart. She peered at him, thinking, of course I misunderstood. I've never seen him look so serious. What on earth is going on inside his head? I guess what he means is that he wants me whenever he wants. No flaws? That's a compliment. I'll take it as a good thing. But why do I feel this way? I don't think I've ever had someone tell me I don't have any flaws, she thought, still observing him. Hayeon looked up at the sky. I'm sweating. Of course, he's going to like that, she thought, feeling beads of sweat forming on her forehead. Soon, Hayeon was at the beach enjoying the sun. Heaven on earth. Eden. Utopia. Words can't describe this place. This is heaven. Being outside of reality lets me relax, she thought happily, enjoying the vacation with no worries. She disinfects Sehun's hand 3 times a day and helps him bathe when needed. At night, they eat and go to bed. All I have to do is stay where he can see me. Naturally, I don't have much free time, but I'm okay with that. He injured his hand because of me, so it would only worry me more if I left him alone, she thought. One morning, Hayeon was outdoors with Sehun. If there's one thing that's hard to bear, it's the scorching sun. Gah, it's so hot. Hayeon exclaimed, drenched in sweat. Ugh, this is lukewarm. It's only been 10 minutes, but the ice already melted. Why can't he just leave the room by himself if he wants fresh air so much? He always has to take me with him once a day, she thought angrily, watching him enjoy the sun. Hey, Sehun, Hayeon called out. Yeah? He responded. It's so hot. I think I'm going to suffocate, she said. Just a little bit longer, he told her. I'm going to die from dehydration, she complained. Order more, Ji Sehun said. I'm already on my 5th glass. Everything I drink seems to turn into sweat. My bra is soaked and it's suffocating me. She told him. Take off your clothes if you're hot or go into the pool, he suggested with a smile, standing next to her chair. A few days ago, Hayeon had been caught with the bikini she brought just in case she wanted to swim. Since then, Ji Sehun had been insistent about her going to the pool. Do you want to go to the pool? He asked one evening. He kept suggesting it repeatedly. He won't stop suggesting I go to the pool with him, she thought, watching him with a serious expression. No, she replied, turning her head away. Ha! It's so hot, she added, still lying down. Hey, turn around, he said. Why? She asked. I want to see your face, he replied. You're enjoying seeing me suffer, aren't you? Hayeon accused, turning to face him. No, he said, touching her face. Yes, you are, she insisted. I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom, she said, and he let go of her face without a word. Oh, he's letting me, she thought in awe before dashing inside the house. Yes. This is exactly what I needed, she exclaimed excitedly as the cool room eased her discomfort. I didn't even have time to check my phone, she said inwardly. She picked up her phone from the bed and noticed a new message. Hello, Hayeon. This is Choi Jin-soo, she read aloud. Who is this? She wondered. Oh, it's the guy my mom was trying to set me up with. What do? I totally forgot about it, she thought, quickly typing a response that she was currently away. Yes, I'm aware. Your mother told me, came the reply. Ah, I see, she responded. I told my mom I was going away as part of the concert staff. She must have mentioned that to him, she thought. How do I keep the conversation going? It's awkward. I'll just have a better conversation with him when we meet in person, she resolved. How is it over there? If it's okay with you, can you send me a picture? I think it'll help me get through the workday, Choi Jin-soo texted. Sure, I'm working at the moment, but I can send it to you later, Hayeon replied. Sorry if it's a bother, he texted back. Not at all, she wrote. She was engrossed in her work and didn't notice Ji Sehun coming into the room. Just send me the picture whenever you can, Choi Jin-soo's message read. Sure. Of the scenery? She texted. No, of you, he replied. Let's go out for dinner tonight, Ji Sehun said, startling Hayeon as she noticed his presence in the room. She quickly hid her phone. Yeah, sure. Are you hungry? She asked. What are you hiding? He inquired. What do you mean? She asked, pretending not to know what he meant. Let's go get washed up, he said. Okay. You go ahead and wait for me inside, she replied, her expression tense. Sorry, I'll have to get back to you later, Hayeon texted before switching off her phone. How long have we been here? Ji Sehun asked during dinner. A week, she responded. What made you want to come to a restaurant all of a sudden? You don't usually like noisy, crowded places, she said. It seemed like you wanted to come out. Was I wrong? He asked with a smile as he cleaned his hands. No, you're right. I felt like I'd regret it otherwise, she said calmly. Who knows when I'll be able to come to a place like this again, she thought. Hayeon noticed a piano in the room and watched him eat. Is your hand okay? She asked. No, he replied. We had removed his bandage since the wound had healed, but of course, he won't be completely recovered, she thought. What are you looking at? Ji Sehun asked, noticing her distraction. Aren't you worried? She asked him. No, not really, he said. Internally, Ji Sehun knew she wanted to see him play, but he didn't want to perform in an unprepared setting. He noticed she wasn't eating and wondered if she disliked the food. Why am I worried about this stuff? It's not like me. But every time I see you, my thoughts just run off on their own, he thought. Do you want me to play for you? He asked Hayeon. Hayeon's disbelief was evident. The piano? She asked in shock. Ji Sehun with a smile said, if you play for me, I'll play for you too. What Ji Sehun didn't know was that Hayeon was actually afraid of playing the piano. She had been forced to learn it back in middle school. You have to learn piano for liberal arts. You have no discipline. Her mother had scolded, while she cried. Her mother believed she wanted to quit due to a lack of discipline, but the real reason was that she hated the pain of the pen jabbing into her hands every time she made a mistake. That feeling, combined with constant criticism, made her loathe the piano. Hayeon's expression was cold as she watched Ji Sehun. You're really going to play too? She asked calmly. Yes, Ji Sehun replied. Okay, then I'll play too. But you have to promise me you'll keep playing after my pathetic performance, okay? She said. What are you talking about? I'm going to play with you, Ji Sehun said, sounding uncertain about her worries. Oh, Hayeon said, remembering when they had watched Ji Sehun's performance on TV. He had mentioned wanting to play the cello with her while she played the piano. I didn't know he actually meant it, she thought, feeling tense. Wait here. I'll go talk to the owner, she said, jumping up from her seat. After speaking with the manager for a while, she returned to Ji Sehun. He said we can use the stage until 8 p.m. when the live show starts. She informed him. I only remember one song though. Do you think you can play it? She showed him the music sheet. Ji Sehun scrolled through her phone, examining the music sheet. Hayeon watched him, thinking about how this was the last song she played and one of the pieces where she made many mistakes, leaving marks on her fingers from the pen jabs. He jumped up from his seat. Don't you need to take a better look at it? Hayeon asked, shocked. I've read it all, Ji Sehun replied, heading towards the stage. Upon arrival, he discovered a contrabass instead of a cello. I thought they had a cello. Isn't this a contrabass? Hayeon asked, stunned. They look similar, so I thought it was a cello. What do we do? I can play it, Ji Sehun said, picking up the contrabass. Can you play the violin too? She wondered. Hurry up, Ji Sehun tells her. Hold on a second. Hayeon said, dashing away. Ji Sehun thought, so she really doesn't know much about music. A cello isn't usually played in jazz concerts. Maybe she can't play the piano either. Sehun here, she said with a smile, returning with a cello. They said it's from a staff member who used to play it here. It's really old, so they can't guarantee the sound. Do you think you can play it? She asked calmly. Ji Sehun looked at the old cello and the small corner stage in the restaurant. Unbelievable, he thought. An old cello found in storage, in a restaurant overseas. Of course I can play. It's my first performance with you, he said with a smile. To Ji Sehun, the most unbelievable thing of all was Hayeon. They sat down, each taking their place with their musical instruments. This thing is in really bad condition, Ji Sehun said, testing the cello. Hayeon didn't respond, her gaze fixed on the piano with a tense expression. I haven't sat at a piano in years, she thought. She sighed and touched the keys, trying to relax and be cheerful. As she played slowly, a voice echoed in her mind, recalling the jabs of the pen her instructor used to discipline her. Hayeon retracted her hand quickly, almost shouting in fear. Don't stop. Keep going, Ji Sehun urged, turning his gaze towards her. I might forget in the middle, she said. It doesn't matter. Just keep playing, he reassured her. But we're performing together. I can't do that, she said. Don't feel pressured to be perfect. I'll fill in for you. Don't worry about it, he told her. Feeling reassured by his encouragement, Hayeon's face flushed and her heart raced. Finally, she began to play. Yeah, who cares if I make a mistake? Sehun is here with me. Just enjoy the moment, she told herself. As they played melodiously, Ji Sehun enjoyed the moment, expertly playing the cello while Hayeon played the piano. The room was filled with their rhythms. Oh no, I slipped, she said, fearfully missing a note. That's okay. It's fine, Ji Sehun reassured her. As she concluded her performance, Hayeon was surprised to find that she had enjoyed playing the piano. Ji Sehun continued playing, nodding at her, and Hayeon, touched and speechless, resumed playing to join him. I can't believe the cello Sehun is playing is so old, she thought, enjoying the music and feeling her heart race. The crowd applauded as they finished. Oh, thank you, Hayeon exclaimed, both of them bowing slightly in gratitude. Hayeon dashed towards Ji Sehun and hugged him in joy. That was the best performance ever. I never knew it could be this fun to play on stage. If I had known, I wouldn't have quit practicing, she said, burying her face in his chest. You can always listen to me play, Ji Sehun said calmly. You were amazing today. If you don't mind, could we go for a drink? She asked, her voice filled with excitement. What do I do with this woman? Ji Sehun thought, watching her happy face. I even like her mediocre piano skills, he said inwardly. Just don't pretend to be drunk like last time, okay? Today, let's drink to our true limits. What do you say? Hayeon with a smile. Can you handle it? Ji Sehun asked her. If I can't handle you, who will? Hayeon tells him. Fine. Let's go all the way then, he agreed with a smile. Back at their cabin, Hayeon stayed outside, feeling a bit tipsy. I think I drank too much, she said, laughing loudly. Everybody clapped for me. Hey. I'm so happy, she added, her face flushed. Feel like some champagne? Ji Sehun asked, stepping outside with a bottle. Yeah, let's do it. That's the good stuff. Let's finish it off, she said. He opened the bottle and poured a glass for each of them. They drank slowly. Hayeon exclaimed, finishing her glass in one gulp. She leaned back, feeling the effects of the alcohol. I feel so happy today, she said calmly. I'm glad, Ji Sehun responded. What about you? How do you feel? He asked her. Hayeon asked, about what? You have everything and can do whatever you want, she said. I never thought about it, Ji Sehun replied. Haha. I knew it. I got it right. Hayeon blurted out, laughing loudly. She then calmed down and said, so, there isn't anything in this world that you can't do, right? It's right in front of me, Ji Sehun replied, his eyes fixed on her. Has he been looking at me this whole time? Hayeon wondered, noticing his gaze. He set his glass on the table and asked, so, what do you think? Hayeon tried to hold back a hiccup, but it was noticeable. What's wrong? Ji Sehun asked, standing up quickly. He took her hand and leaned closer. Look at me, he said. Hayeon met his gaze seriously and said, I want you to kiss me. Ji Sehun closed his eyes and leaned in as they kissed. He gently adjusted the straps of her dress. Hey, ease up there. Hayeon exclaimed, her face flushed as she tapped his shoulder. Is this too much? Ji Sehun asked calmly. Yeah, just slow down, she replied. How about you let me go a little bit further? Just for today. Please? He pleaded gently. Okay, Hayeon consented. Inwardly, she kept thinking about Sehun playing on stage earlier, fantasizing about his long fingers and quick hands. His fingers that played the cello. I can hear the music. He's playing me like he played with the beat, making me want more, she thought as she got lost in the moment. Ji Sehun sucked her gently. Hayeon let out soft moans, but then she pleaded wait, prompting him to stop. Did it hurt? Ji Sehun asked, his face showing concern. No, it didn't hurt at all. I liked it, she reassured him, resuming their kiss. Ji Sehun paused for a moment, unbuttoning his shirt and pulling it off. From the moment I saw you lying down, you have no idea how much I've wanted to do this, he said, his face expressing happiness. Ji Sehun held her close, gently biting her ear. You're really turned on, he whispered. Hayeon let out soft moans, gripping the chair tightly. Hayeon, he whispered gently. Sehun, wait, she begged. Relax, he told her, though she found it difficult. I said relax, not hold your breath. Focus on me, he added gently as he lay on top of her. Hayeon held him close. I haven't even started yet because of you, he said before proceeding. Hayeon moaned, and Ji Sehun continued, you even sound nice. Ask me for more, he tells her, touching her lips as she watched him quietly, her face flushed. I'll give you everything, he tells her before proceeding. The next morning, they slept peacefully. It's cold, Hayeon thought, her hand resting on Ji Sehun's chest. It's Sehun's chest. It doesn't even surprise me anymore, she reflected. As she slid closer, she felt his skin against hers and her eyes widened in amazement. She quickly turned her head, dumbfounded, and peeked under the bedsheet. He's not wearing a single piece of clothing. And I'm not either. We're completely naked, she thought, covering her mouth in shock with her face flushed. Hayeon got up and dashed into the bathroom, shutting the door behind her. In front of the mirror, she noticed red spots on her neck from the night before. Kim Hain, you've completely lost it. I said you could drink, not sleep with him, she said almost loudly before covering her mouth to avoid waking Ji Sehun. I'd better shower first, she decided, heading to the shower. I'm never drinking again. It was the alcohol. I got excited. I was drunk on the mood, she thought as she showered. I was clearly not myself, Hayeon thought, her mind drifting back to their intimate moments from the previous night. I like it. I like you, she remembered, thinking about Ji Sehun's flushed face. Ugh, I want to get it out of my head, but it keeps popping up, she thought angrily, trying to forget their romance. We both wanted it, but the issue isn't the intimate contact, it's... She thought, but was startled when Ji Sehun suddenly appeared in the bathroom. Let's shower together, he said, startling Hayeon. Why didn't you wake me up? He asked. Huh? Oh, I just thought you'd want to sleep in, she replied. Are you finished? He inquired. Yeah, I'm done, Hayeon said, still clutching herself. Yeah, she tells him. I'm completely done, she repeated as she sat down in the bathroom, feeling uneasy. I was naked and fine with it yesterday. But now I can't stand up, she thought, her face turned away from Ji Sehun. Ji Sehun covered her with a bathrobe. I remember everything from last night. But what if he doesn't? We did have a lot to drink, she pondered as she slowly put on the bathrobe. If you're done, wait for me outside, he told her. Okay, she said. God, if you're there, please erase his memory, she thought inwardly as she walked gently towards the door. How's your throat? You were pretty loud last night, Ji Sehun said with a smirk, startling Hayeon as she left without responding. In the bedroom, Hayeon's heart raced when she saw some condom wrappers on the floor. Ah, no way. Seriously? She exclaimed, covering her flushed face with her hands. Let's just forget it all. Ji Sehun's face flashed through her thoughts. How in the world did I fall for a guy like him? She wondered. Ji Sehun emerged from the bathroom and said, the contract. How about we get rid of it? Get rid of the contract? What do you mean? Hayeon asked, unsure. We slept together last night, he said. What does that have to do with the contract? Does Sehun have feelings for me too? She thought. Ji Sehun sat opposite her. You're going to blame the alcohol and pretend you don't remember last night, aren't you? He asked, leaning toward her. No. I remember everything, she said, her head bowed. I enjoyed last night so much I can't stop thinking about it. What about you? He asked, lifting her face. Me too. It wasn't bad, she confessed, her face flushed. You're worried about my safety. You went to a noisy restaurant with me, even though you usually can't stand places like that. You played on stage just for me. You want more than just my body, Hayeon thought as she watched Ji Sehun's face. Not bad means that you enjoyed it, right? He asked with a smile. Hayeon didn't reply. So we feel the same then, he said. Normally, I'd be bored with her by now. But for some reason, I like her even more. It's as if my heart is overflowing with music. She's made all my past performances seem insignificant, Ji Sehun thought, glancing at her. I don't think I can live without you anymore, he tells Hayeon. I have to accept it now. You don't give me a chance to get bored of you. You're special. I don't think I've ever liked someone this much, to the point that even the cello seems meaningless to me, Ji Sehun thought, letting go of her face. Get rid of the contract and just move in, he said as he walked to the table. Here. Use what's in here whenever you need to. Let me know if it's not enough. I'll give you more when we go back to Korea, he said, placing his wallet on her lap. No limits on physical contact anymore, okay? I can't bear hearing that it's too much every time I touch you, he added. What is this? Hayeon asked, noticing the debit cards in the wallet. It's yours now, Ji Sehun replied. What do you mean by that? Hayeon asked, her voice sounding angry. By what? Ji Sehun asked, sounding confused. That's all you have to say to me? She asked rudely, turning her gaze away from him. Did I miss something? He asked, still confused. I mean, you like me, don't you? She asked loudly. Yeah, I do. That's why I'm suggesting we get rid of the contract and just keep doing this. Do you think I'd say this if I didn't want to? He asked, his voice sounding sad. Even when the contract ends, I'm still going to feel the same way. So, I want you all to myself, he thought. You said you enjoyed being with me. Let's get rid of the contract. We're compatible in bed. We can figure out the other things as we go, he told her, leaning closer. You jerk. Get your hands off me, Hayeon said seriously. Later in the afternoon, Ji Sehun remained in bed as Hayeon tried to wake him. Sehun, wake up, she said. He opened his eyes and reached for her, but she quickly dashed away from his grasp. What's your problem? He asked, sounding serious. Nothing. I'm hungry. Let's go eat, she replied. What is it that you want? I'll give it to you, he said, but she didn't answer, her attention focused on arranging the bed. Nothing. I don't want anything, she said, walking away. At the beach, Ji Sehun sat down. You can get your own food now that your hand is almost healed, right? She asked, walking away to get food for herself. Offer me money after sex? Typical of him. How could I fall for a guy like that? Thank God I didn't tell him all of my feelings, she thought angrily as she served herself. Hayeon paused, reflecting on her emotions. What did I expect? So stupid, she told herself. She returned with her food and slammed it on the table. You're acting like this since my hand is healed? Ji Sehun asked, but she paid him no attention as she ate. Let's get rid of the contract, Ji Sehun said. Why should we? We've already come this far. The only way to get the rest of my money is to finish the contract anyway, Hayeon demanded. But I gave it to you, he said calmly. Hayeon turned away in disgust. You and I. Was that a one-night stand? Ji Sehun asked. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. We were both drunk anyway. Let's just say we both enjoyed it and leave it at that. She said harshly. You enjoyed it? He asked, sounding perplexed. Yeah, you were pretty good, she said, smiling. Hayeon's phone vibrated, signaling a new message. It was from Choi Jin-soo, asking if she had had lunch. She replied that she had, and asked if he had. He confirmed that he had. Jin-soo then texted, when are you coming back to Korea? Hayeon read the message aloud and asked Ji Sehun, when are we going back to Korea? Give that to me, Ji Sehun said, reaching for her phone. What? Why? Hayeon asked, looking perplexed. Give it here, he demanded. No. What gives you the right to look at my phone? Hayeon countered. You're hiding it from me, so it must be another guy, Ji Sehun said. Fine. It is. Can you please tell me when we're going back so I can go see him? She retorted. See who? Ji Sehun asked, his eyes widening in shock. Just then, Ji Sehun's phone rang. It must be something urgent. You should take it, Hayeon suggested. He answered the call. What? What else would I be doing? I'm with Kim Hayeon, he said. Hayeon noticed the way he called her name. Kim Hayeon? He only calls me Hayeon when he's in a good mood, she thought with a scoff. Ji Sehun went silent as he listened to the caller. Okay, bye, he said coldly, ending the call. Who was that? Hayeon asked politely. My manager, Hyung-sik, Ji Sehun replied. What did he say? Does he want to see you? She asked, sounding surprised. I should ask more questions to change the subject, she thought. It's nothing, he said. Can I ask what you two talked about? She inquired. Someone died, Ji Sehun said. What? Hayeon asked, her face showing concern. Who? Hayeon asked. Someone who used to teach me cello a long time ago, Ji Sehun replied. Let's go back to our room and get some sleep if you're done eating. I'm tired, he said, getting up from his seat. Wait, Sehun. If someone like that passed away, now is not the time to be here. We should go back to Korea, she said, her face tense. Why? He asked coldly. What do you mean, why? Your cello teacher passed away. Shouldn't you go to their funeral? Hayeon asked. Why would I go? He passed away because it was his time. It's not a big deal, Ji Sehun said harshly. You probably won't even show up to my funeral if I die, will you? Hayeon asked seriously. Why would you die? Ji Sehun replied. Let's go back to Korea. You need to go to the funeral. You have to, she said, bowing her head, her face sad. Okay. I'll go. Now stop making that face, he told her. They soon boarded their flight back to Korea, ending their vacation. They sat quietly in their seats. She's not even noticing me now that my hand is healed. At this rate, she'll just do whatever she wants, Ji Sehun thought, watching Hayeon quietly. Ladies and gentlemen, we will soon be arriving at Incheon Airport. Please check that your seatbelt has been fastened. Thank you, the pilot announced. Ah, that contract, Ji Sehun thought, holding his head in pain. The plane will be landing soon. Could you please fasten your seatbelt, sir? An air hostess asked politely.
Ji Sehun did respond.
Sir? The hostess repeated, looking confused. What are you doing? Stop giving her a hard time, Hayeon said, walking over to him. She helped him with his seatbelt. Ji Sehun thought to himself, I wasn't going to let her come back to Korea until I heard the words I wanted to hear from her mouth. When she cries, my whole body trembles. Crying because of me makes me feel this way. I just wish she wouldn't cry for another person's death, especially for a man who's not worth a single tear. It's been more than 16 years. Just thinking about his face makes me upset. He shook off his thoughts. Ugh, never mind, he thought inwardly. Ah, here they come.
Hayeon.
Hyungsik called out, waving at them as they rolled their luggage through the airport.
Ah.
Hyungsik, Miss Lee, you're here too. Hayeon said excitedly. Did you enjoy your vacation? Hyungsik asked them happily, offering to take their bags. Miss Lee noticed something different about Ji Sehun. Are you sure you guys went to a resort? You didn't get tanned at all, Hyungsik remarked. We stayed indoors most of the time, Hayeon replied, hoping they didn't notice Ji Sehun's injury. She tried to divert their attention. You stayed inside? You must have had a lot of fun, Hyungsik said as they walked toward the exit. What could be fun with this guy? All we did was eat and sleep, Hayeon said. So, they did sleep together, Miss Lee thought, verifying her suspicion. Should we go straight to the funeral? Miss Lee asked, turning her gaze to Ji Sehun. I didn't get to sleep. I'm going to rest first and then go, Ji Sehun said. You should rest as well, he told Hayeon, causing her to flinch slightly. Do you guys share the same bed now? Hyungsik asked suddenly. Huh? What? No way. What the heck are you talking about? Hayeon replied, sounding tense. You're not going to sleep? Ji Sehun asked her, still expecting an answer. I'm sure Sehun must be tired. Let's get him home, Hayeon said, smiling but gently nudging him to stay quiet. They left the airport and soon arrived at Ji Sehun's apartment. We'll come pick you up at 1 p.m. You must be exhausted from the flight. Go get some rest. You too, Hayeon. I know you're tired, but please don't forget to unpack his things, Miss Lee said calmly. Okay, don't worry. We'll see you later, Hayeon replied with a smile. Miss Lee and Hyungsik said their farewells, leaving Hayeon and Ji Sehun. Hayeon sighed with relief. I just need to show up, and that's it, right? Ji Sehun asked, pulling off his shirt. Come on, don't be so cold. You should stay for a bit to comfort the host, Hayeon told him firmly. Okay, fine. What will you do for me if I do all that? He asked. Hayeon was silent for a moment, watching his face. What are you even talking about? That mindset of yours is all wrong to begin with. It's basic decency to visit your teacher's funeral, she said. Don't just look at everything by your standard, Ji Sehun remarked. Yes, it is my standard to attend the funeral of someone I used to know. It's polite. What's wrong with that? She asked, her voice sharp. I said I'd do it. I don't want to go, but I'm going because of you, he said, stepping closer to her. Then don't I deserve something for the trouble? He asked. And what would that be? She demanded. Kiss me. I won't be in a good mood when I come back from the funeral. Kiss me when I get back. Then I'll feel better right away, he said. For now, let's get some sleep. I'm tired, he added, holding her hand. In his room, Ji Sehun lay in bed tired. Hayeon watched him rest. He opened his arms, trying to sleep. No. If I crawl into his arms now, he'll hear my heart beating fast. Touching him won't hurt. Right? Hayeon thought as she sat down beside him. You go ahead and sleep. I'm going to go wash up, she said, touching his head. Shower with me later, he said faintly. Your hand is fine now. I'm sure you can shower on your own, she replied, feeling tense. I want to shower together, he said, making her face turn red. She watched him silently as he closed his eyes. Do you want me to go with you to the funeral later? She asked politely. No. I don't want to show you to anyone there, he replied. Ji Sehun was just 5 years old when he began learning the violin. However, he was soon captivated by the deep, resonant sound of the cello, which drew him away from the violin. It was as if the cello was whispering to him, beckoning him to play. His first encounter with the cello was magical. Holding it brought him a sense of comfort. However, Ji Sehun's parents hired Kong Jiseok, the nation's top cello instructor, to guide him. Ji Sehun resented this, as he wanted to connect with the cello on his own terms, but felt constrained by the formal instruction. During their first meeting, Kong Jiseok was stern. "Play something you know. I need to assess your skills," he ordered. Ji Sehun, though taken aback by the demand, complied and performed Bach's cello suite. He played with deep emotion and skill, losing himself in the music. Kong Jiseok's reaction was unexpected. "No, that's not how you play that piece," he exclaimed, his voice filled with frustration. "The way you play is messy and too hasty. This piece is meant to evoke the grace and elegance of aristocrats dancing in a ballroom. You must approach it with more elegance and seriousness," he said, perplexing Ji Sehun. He then took the cello from Ji Sehun and demonstrated his version. "If you don't play it this way, you'll never succeed," Kong Jiseok asserted, firmly setting the standard for Ji Sehun's future playing. Ji Sehun began playing the cello exactly as he wished, finally bringing Kong Jiseok a sense of satisfaction. Delighted with his progress, Kong Jiseok took him to Europe to enroll in a prestigious classical music university, eager to showcase Ji Sehun as his prized prodigy. Using a translator, Kong Jiseok proudly proclaimed Ji Sehun as his beloved prodigy, garnering interest from top music professors. When Ji Sehun performed for them, he did so with his own unique style, ignoring the techniques Kong Jiseok had taught him. He played with the knowledge and discoveries he had made on his own. The professors were astonished by his interpretation and technique, praising him for achieving what seemed impossible for someone his age. Ji Sehun vividly remembered the look on Kong Jiseok's face at that moment, a mix of betrayal, despair, and profound admiration. Kong Jiseok's subsequent comments still resonated in Ji Sehun's mind. "He played just as I taught him. What a perfect performance." Despite his praise, Ji Sehun saw the underlying madness and greed in Kong Jiseok's eyes. "You learned to play like that thanks to me," Kong Jiseok would boast, reveling in his influence over Ji Sehun's success. "You might think you outsmarted me, but the joke's on you. If I had let you play your way from the start, you wouldn't be where you are now. You should thank me for pushing you to this level," Kong Jiseok would continue, his arrogance clear. Ji Sehun walked away, his mind conflicted. He had proven himself, but the price had been the constant shadow of Kong Jiseok's manipulative pride. Kong Jiseok's envy drove him to control and oppress Ji Sehun. "I made you. You're the genius I created," he would boast, clutching pictures of Ji Sehun. As Ji Sehun rose to prominence as the youngest renowned cellist, Kong Jiseok's obsession grew. Each success Ji Sehun achieved only deepened the resentment in Kong Jiseok's eyes. Whenever Ji Sehun performed abroad, Kong Jiseok was busy conducting interviews in Korea, bragging about Ji Sehun's accomplishments. Ji Sehun, indifferent to Kong Jiseok's self-promotion, chose not to confront him. Kong Jiseok's anger grew as Ji Sehun continued to distance himself, eventually transforming from a respected professor and husband into a relentless stalker. "You think your hands will be safe forever, Sehun?" Kong Jiseok would ask, his face marked by a sadistic smile. "Sehun, hey Sehun," Hayeon said, waking Ji Sehun from his sleep, noticing his sweat. "We're here. Why are you sweating so much? Did you have a nightmare?" he asked. "Oh, take this. Your instructor left you a letter before he passed," he said, handing Ji Sehun a letter. Ji Sehun opened it and read, "You would have been nothing without me. Piece of crap. This too?" he said inwardly. Anger flared within him as he tore the letter into pieces. "You wanted to trap me and control me," he muttered, throwing the scraps aside. "The joke's on you. I don't belong to anyone." "Finally, it's all over," he declared, relieved to be free from Kong Jiseok's shadow. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive, and we'll catch you in the next episode.